Get ready for some festive fun. In this video, we'll draw a gingerbread house, a North Pole map, and Santa's workshop all in one. So grab your pencil and let's get started. The first thing you want to do is line your hand up with the bottom edge of your paper. Where the top of your hand is, draw a straight line across your paper. This will be your horizon line. Now draw a large square in the middle of your paper. Be careful to draw your square so that it overlaps with your horizon line by about the width of a finger. Next, draw a large triangle on top of your square. Once you're finished drawing this triangle, go back and extend the left and right sides so that they overhang. Now go to the left bottom corner of your square and draw a diagonal line that connects this bottom corner to the horizon line. Right on this point, draw a vertical line. Now we're going to move up to where we drew the overhanging line and draw a diagonal line that runs parallel to the diagonal line on the bottom. Now move up to the top of the triangle. Draw one more diagonal line that runs parallel to the diagonal line that you just drew. Okay, pause. Disclaimer. If you study one-point perspective drawing, you'll learn that these three lines technically are not parallel to each other, but this goes beyond the scope of what I'm hoping to teach you today. So for now, if you draw them more or less parallel to each other, it will look fine. Finally, connect these two lines in the back with a diagonal line that runs parallel to the left side of the triangle. You might find it helpful to look at this template while you draw. Okay, so now I'm going back, erasing the most pointy corners and redrawing them so that they are slightly rounded. This will make it look more like gingerbread. Be sure to erase the part of your horizon line that overlaps with the gingerbread house. I'm using a wavy line to draw some snow icing across the top of the roof and frosting ice along the inside edge of the roof, as well as on the bottom edges of the roof. I'm drawing some decorative beams on the front of the house. I'm adding a swirl stick pastry for the chimney and some cotton candy puffs of smoke coming out of the chimney. Starting with a simple circle to draw a deluxe donut with icing and a cherry right on top of the roof. Then I'm placing a row of gumdrops along the top edge of my roof. I'm drawing a simple round door and round windows that are flat on the bottom. Now I'm drawing icing around the windows. I'm adding a peppermint at the top of my doorway with some ornate icing around it. I'm making a dot in the middle of the peppermint, then drawing a series of curved lines that radiate outwards. The shingles on my roof consist of colorful candy scallops. See how I'm starting at the top and drawing one row of scallops at a time? Now I'm going back and adding a double line inside my scallops to make them look more ornate. It wouldn't be a proper gingerbread house without some giant candy canes in my front yard. See how I draw the candy canes right in front of the house? Then I go back and erase the pencil marks inside the candy canes. Now I'm drawing diagonal lines inside the candy canes. I thought I'd add some lollipops on the side of my house. I'm drawing a couple circles, then drawing a double line for the lollipop handles. Now I'm adding a spiral inside the lollipop. Then, starting in the center of the spiral, drawing segments within the spiral. I'm adding a Hershey's Kiss and some gumdrops in front of my house. The gumdrops overlap with the edge of the house, so after I draw them, I'm going back and erasing the pencil marks inside them. I'm going to replace this straight line along the corner of my house with a row of colorful candy dots. Now I'm going to do the same thing in the back and on the other side. If you do this, take extra care to erase your original line. Now I'm adding some decorative icing above my windows and inside the beams. I'm also adding a couple of gingerbread people. And I'm turning the wooden beams into candy canes. Here I'm adding a doorknob and a Christmas wreath to the door. I'm drawing a double line inside my door to make it look more ornate. Starting in front of my door, I'm drawing irregularly shaped ovals that will be candy stepping stones. Notice that the smallest stepping stone is right in front of the door, and each stepping stone is a little bit larger than the one behind it. This is because the closer an object is to us, the bigger it appears. I'm adding a super kawaii Christmas tree next to my house. The tiny circles will be Christmas lights and adding a star on top. I'm adding a second tree right behind the first tree. Now I'm adding a candy heart mailbox and a gingerbread person standing in the front yard. To draw a gingerbread person, start with a large circle for the head, then draw an upside down V for the body, make a round curve for the feet and a rounded arch between the legs, then add the arms. My gingerbread person is wearing pants with overalls and has a big frosting smile on their face. And now for a shooting cookie star in the sky. Start by drawing a simple 5-point star. Then round the points of the star to make it look more like a cookie and erase the pencil lines inside the star. Add a line that fans outwards from the star and another line on the bottom. Then connect the two lines at the end with a zigzag. Now add some candy sprinkles inside the cookie and draw a super cute face inside the star. You may want to look at this template while you draw your gingerbread house. When you're done drawing, it's time to add color. I recommend using markers, crayons, or colored pencils. I want to show you how I color in my lollipop. See how I'm using 3 colors and I'm alternating the colors as I fill in each segment within this spiral. You can also alternate with just 2 colors. Notice how I'm coloring in my candy canes, alternating between red and white stripes. You can of course do yours differently if you like. For my candy scallop roof, I decided to use alternating pastel colors. I'm using a golden color to color in the parts of my house where the gingerbread shows. I couldn't resist going back and drawing a couple cute gummy bear guards keeping watch in front of my house. You can draw a gummy bear using simple circle shapes. To make the house look warm and inviting and like the lights are on inside the house, I suggest coloring the insides of the windows yellow. For added color, I'm placing clusters of red hot candy dots in the corners of the house. I'm also adding some green M&Ms around the windows. Notice how I'm leaving the areas white where I've drawn frosting and icing, but I'm adding some colorful sprinkles to the icing. This really looks awesome. Okay, final tip. For added contrast, I'm using 2 different tones of green to color in my Christmas trees. Yay, finished! Feel free to pause or rewind anytime you need more time to draw. And now, I'm going to show you how to draw a map of the North Pole. Okay, grab a piece of paper and let's get started. Start your drawing by making a thin banner at the top of your paper that says the North Pole. Then draw a few pointy icicles hanging off the bottom of your banner. There's no actual land in the North Pole, so we're going to draw our map on top of a floating ice shelf. that looks like an island. Draw a large, irregular shaped ice shelf that really fills the page. Remember, this map shows an aerial view, so we are looking down on this map from above. There will be a sea of floating ice around us, so I'm drawing that as well. Notice how some of the chunks of ice are very large, while some are very small. I'm clustering small chunks of ice close together and using irregular shapes to make it look more realistic. Now I'm adding some waves in my water. I'm drawing a long, swirling line which will look like wind on the water. To make your drawing look more like a map, draw a compass in the corner that points north. The next thing we want to do is to divide our ice shelf into sections by drawing a road. This is one example of how you can draw your road. Here's another slightly different example of how you can draw your floating ice shelf and a road. See how I'm drawing my road using a double line? Notice how it breaks up my ice shelf into distinct sections or neighborhoods. I can erase any part of this road and then draw a driveway. Now on each section of my ice shelf, I'm going to draw a different scene. I'm going to start by drawing Santa's workshop. A simple rectangle with a triangle roof represents the main building. Now I'm adding a tower on each side and a couple chimneys with smoke coming out. Adding some windows and other details. Adjusting my walkway so that it lines up with the entrance, and adding double doors with a candy cane on either side. I left space so I can make a storefront sign that says Santa's Workshop. Now in the neighborhood on the right, I'm going to draw an elf village. I'm drawing very simple houses and using a few different styles to give you ideas. You can copy my houses or draw your own. Don't forget to add some smoke coming out of your elf chimneys. I left space in front to draw a wooden signpost that says Elf Village. Now I'm going to draw Santa's house. I'm drawing a few mounds of snow, then drawing his house right on top. I'm trying a different style for my roof this time. I'm drawing windows and several wreaths hanging on the front of his house. I'm drawing wavy lines so it looks like there's snow on the roof. I'm adding a wooden signpost in the front that says Santa's house. Now I'm going to draw a fancy sleigh garage that looks like a big castle. I'm drawing Santa's sleigh and adding some presents inside the sleigh. Right next to the sleigh, I'm adding a reindeer runway. The runway is going to be lined with Christmas lights. For a final touch, I'm drawing a wooden signpost that says Reindeer Runway. Since Santa is known for getting a lot of mail, I'm adding a giant bag of mail and drawing a couple envelopes next to the mailbag. I'm also drawing a simple 2-story post office with a flag on the roof. I thought it would be fun to add a train station. I'm adding a curved parallel line for railroad tracks. I'm drawing a simple toy train right on top of these tracks. When I'm finished drawing the train, I'm going back and adding the rest of the lines for the railroad tracks. Next to my train station, there's going to be a frozen lake for ice skating. I'm drawing a round shape for the lake, then adding a couple giant boots. Now I'm turning these boots into ice skates by drawing a blade that attaches to the bottom of the boot. I'm making a signpost that says Skate Lake. Finally, I'm adding some wavy lines to make the water look frozen. Now it's time to add a magical and mysterious candy forest. I'm drawing a bunch of circles that will become lollipops. See how they're all different sizes? Also adding a few conical tree-shaped lollipops. Now adding straight lines for the base of the lollipops, adding a lollipop swirl and other details, throwing in a couple random pieces of candy, and finally making a signpost in the front that says Candy Forest. Now it's time to draw a hot chocolate cafe in the shape of a giant mug. Draw a curved line for the base, a vertical line, a curved line on top that runs parallel to the bottom line, and another straight vertical line on the right. I'm adding a fancy handle for my mug on the side, another curved line on top, and then a mountain of whipped cream with some sprinkles. I'm making a storefront sign that says Hot Chocolate Cafe and adding a door with a candy cane on either side, and voila! To add a snowman, draw a wavy mound of snow with a circle on top. Then draw a slightly smaller overlapping circle. Then draw an even smaller overlapping circle for the head. Then go back, erase and redraw the bottom edge of the middle and top circles. Add stick arms, a hat, and a face, and maybe some buttons on the front. Okay, this was the easiest way I could find to draw polar bears. Draw a simple egg shape, then add a snout, 2 eyes, and a half circle for ears. Add half circles for arms. Add 2 ovals for the feet. I'm repeating these steps to draw a smaller baby polar bear on the left. Reindeer can be kind of hard to draw, but here's the easiest one I know how to do. An oval for the head, an oval for the body, a bushy tail, straight legs with pointy hooves, big pointy ears, a simple face with a big oval nose, and stick antlers that look like upside down crow's feet. For a final touch, I'm adding some steam coming off the hot cocoa. I'm adding a cute Arctic seal next to the water's edge and a narwhal poking up from the water. I'm going to show you a couple different ways you can draw trees. You can draw elongated triangles like this and like this, and you can also draw bushy trees that look like this. For a final touch, I'm drawing a traffic cone at the end of my reindeer runway, and I'm adding some more trees to my picture. Okay, now I'm ready to add color. You can see I've colored my roadways and wooden signposts brown. I've also colored the water turquoise. Have fun coloring your picture, but leave the background white so that it looks like snow. If you want to be super fancy, when you're all done, you can paint some white snowflakes on your picture. You can use whiteout or white paint. This step is totally optional. I don't recommend doing it unless you finish early and have loads of extra time. I hope you love how your drawing turns out. Remember, you can pause or rewind anytime you need more time to draw. Be sure to keep watching because I'm going to show you how to create a drawing of an elf factory. I am so excited for this project. You can support me and my art by subscribing to this channel, Rainbow Parrot Art, and by hitting the like button on this video. Okay, it's time to draw an elf factory. You don't have to do this first part, but I thought it would be helpful to show you that whenever I create a drawing like this, I first draw a tiny thumbnail sketch of it. This helps me to decide what elements I want to include in my picture and decide what the general layout will look like. Now I'm going to walk you through it step by step. I'm going to start by drawing a rectangular window in the upper right corner. I'm sketching an oval here where I'm eventually going to draw an elf. I know the pencil marks are really light right now, but hang on because you'll be able to see them better in just a minute. I'm drawing a square shape here. This will be the present machine that sits on top of the conveyor belt. I'm going to have 2 conveyor belts in my drawing. I'm lightly penciling in a long, narrow oval for each conveyor belt. I like to use light pencil marks just at first when I create the layout of my drawing because that way if I make a mistake, it's easy to erase. Here, I'm drawing a square that's going to be another machine. Just above this machine, I'm sketching in a rough outline of an elf that's going to be standing on a ladder and pulling some kind of lever that will drop presents from the ceiling. This circle is going to become a wreath, and this is a trapdoor from where the presents fall. Now I'm adding a couple floating shelves where presents will sit. Beneath the floating shelves, I'm adding some hanging Christmas stockings. In the bottom right-hand corner, I'm adding a Christmas tree and drawing a stick figure with a big round belly. This is going to be Santa Claus. Now that I have lightly penciled in what I call the skeleton of my drawing, I'm ready to start using darker pencil marks to fill in the details. I'm going to start with the conveyor belts. I'm adding a second line inside each of the ovals. I'm drawing the 2 rectangles that will become the machines that send the presents through the conveyor belts. I'm redrawing those 2 floating shelves that will have presents on them. And I'm redrawing the window in the upper right-hand corner. Watch here to see the simple shapes I use to draw Santa Claus. Feel free to pause here or rewind if you are following along. For the Christmas tree, I'm drawing row after row of zigzags, starting at the top and working my way down. Right at the level where Santa's boots are, I'm drawing a straight line across the bottom of my drawing. This will be the factory floor. Now I'm drawing some presents sitting under the Christmas tree. Right here, I'm adding the basic shapes that will become an elf sitting on a swing. Now I'm drawing the basic shape for the elf that's going to be standing on a ladder. I'm adding some kind of circle design inside the conveyor belt. These circles could be the spokes that rotate and cause the conveyor belt to turn. I'm drawing my Christmas wreath. It looks like a giant donut with a bow on top. I'm making a jagged zigzag line around the edge of the wreath so it looks like rough evergreen branches. And I'm adding some circles inside the wreath that will become red holly berries. Now I'm creating a window pane by outlining around the edge of the window. I'm adding more intersecting window panes at the top of the window so it looks a bit more like a window. I'm drawing a curtain rod above the window and drawing a curtain on both sides of the window. Now for the best part. There are going to be a couple of curious reindeer peeking in through the window. I'm using simple shapes to draw these reindeer so that they will be easy for you to copy. Feel free to pause or rewind the video here if that's helpful. I'm going to fill in the details for my elf on the swing. Notice that he's talking through a loudspeaker. He's got skinny legs and long pointy feet. This swing is hanging on a metal chain. I'm going to show you how to draw a metal chain in just a minute. I'm adding a cute elf hat and big pointy elf ears to my other elf. Okay, now for the metal chain. Start by drawing skinny ovals stacked like this. They have a little bit of space between each oval. Now go back and connect each of these ovals with a circle. Now I'm drawing the trap door on the ceiling, and as you can see, there's a present falling out of it. I'm adding a bunch of presents on top of the floating shelves. I'm drawing some hanging stockings under the shelf, but my head's in the way. There, now you can see. I'm adding a few Christmas ornaments hanging from the shelves. Now I'm drawing where the belt of the conveyor belt connects to the 2 machines. I'm adding a bunch of Christmas presents on top of the conveyor belt. I like to add a variety of bows and ribbons to my presents. I like it when each present is a little bit different in size and shape. It just makes for a nice variety. Now I'm going to finish adding the details to this elf and draw a ladder underneath him. It's time to add some levers, knobs, and buttons to the machine that processes the presents onto the conveyor belt. You can really have fun and use your imagination when you do this. This is the opening where the presents come out. I'm adding similar details to the other machine. All right, yay, I'm done drawing, but stick around for a minute so I can give you a few tips on how you might color in your picture. I recommend using a super light color for the background. I don't like to use a dark color for the background because it makes it harder to see the objects in your picture. I'm using a marker for this, but you might find you prefer to use colored pencils. It's really up to you. I'm using a reddish brown color on the conveyor belts. I'm using a navy blue in the window so it looks like you're looking out at a night sky. See how I'm also leaving some white circles so that it looks like it's snowing? I feel like the stuff I'm doing now is pretty straightforward, so I'm going to go kind of fast here. Oh yeah, I decided to add a mistletoe in the upper left-hand corner. Can you think of any other holiday decorations that you may like to add to your elf factory? I'm using a few different shades of brown to color in my reindeer. I'm coloring in my presents using many different colors because I like the way that looks. When I'm done coloring, I like to grab an ultrafine Sharpie and outline parts of my picture to make them pop. You can also use a black colored pencil for this. Oh yeah, you can also see that I added some holly at the bottom of my picture here. I love how that looks. Don't forget to add some decorations or lights to your Christmas tree. I hope you had so much fun drawing today, but don't go yet. You are absolutely going to love these other drawing challenges that I made, and they're all on this playlist. I've also linked my drawing playlist in the description below.